So you have any questions about the kind of assessment, thinking about the mild, moderate, severe kind of category? Any questions or even specific examples or anything?
I think we just need to have our schedule match yours and they'll be here.
Well, I did some pack games, but I'm not unfortunately, we're not quite at the NL yet.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that the important thing to realize is take concussions seriously. And there's a lot of confusion about what concussions are. And if you get hit, and my understanding is you're not supposed to slide head first, right, in this league, is that correct? So that's a big thing right there, that's great. I think that's a great idea. But there's still going to be player-player collisions, there's still going to be occasional, you know, ball to head type situations, batted balls, pitched falls even. And take concussions seriously. If you get hit by a ball, and there's a bad headache, and there's dizziness, or there's any wobbliness, nausea, that's a concussion. Period. That's a concussion, and that kid shouldn't go back in the game. And if it's bad enough, that's a situation where it needs to go to the ER. I mean, if you had a kid that was actually knocked out for a period of time, for a significant period of time, that's a 911 in my thinking. If there's a situation where it's almost as if it knocked the wind out or what's going on, that kid might be able to be driven to the ER, sit on the bench. But you know, these are, I think that you want to be able to make sure that kid's not at risk of getting a second head injury. It's a big deal. You guys are probably familiar with this nationally. It's a big push to think about head injuries. A lot of it's from football actually, but some of the same stuff applies to baseball. Muscle strains, you know, most muscle strains are going to heal nicely in a couple weeks, but the big thing is rest. And we're talking about, the Little League puts out this thing for people who are doing my job all across the country, and they talk about, they call it crisis, so protection, right? So, you know, catchers, pads, etc. And then if you get an injury, it's rice. So you guys have heard this: rest, ice, and then the last one is support. If you're concerned about somebody's ankle and they go off the field and they're back the next day, they're hobbling around, it's okay to say, hey, did you see your doctor? You know, that's okay to say that, and that's where you guys come in with supporting your athletes, and because we don't know about it, there's nothing we can do about it, but there's a lot we can do when they come see us the next day, and a lot of times, you know, the main reason they're going to see us the next day is if you guys say, hey, you want to see your doctor. So ankle sprains, you know, when you get, we're talking about ice initially, and we're talking about elevation and wrapping, and basically most of the time those ankle sprains can be seen in the following day or two in the office. Overuse injuries, big thing we see is Little Leaguer's elbow, and basically, you know, we're talking about kind of chronic tendonitis type injuries, and icing's important, but pitch counts are important. You guys have, what are the pitch count rules as far as? 75. Okay, so you know, I think that's there absolutely for a reason. Small joint injuries. If you had a situation where somebody had a jammed finger, if it's obviously, if you think that finger is like obviously broken, that really, you know, that's obviously going to be there. If it's jammed, that's ice. May or may not be able to, you know, continue playing that game. You know, as far as facial injuries, teeth injuries, eye injuries, those, you know, those can be significant. If you get hit, if you get hit in the eye, you get a visual change. That's a big deal. Should be seen probably in the ER that day. Tooth getting knocked out. I think trying to put the tooth into actually the recommendation is milk, believe it or not, and then that can potentially be help out the dentist in inserting it back in. I'm not a dentist, so I can't say a whole lot about that. And then, you know, obviously, you know, Tracy wrote insect bites and stings on here. I don't know what to say about that. Maybe ice or I don't know. And then, you know, just realizing that we all have, you know, there's cell phones here. You know, it's better there on the side of caution if you have a concern severe type injury, everybody stays calm, and that kids are protected from overuse injuries. That's pretty much about it. Do you guys have any questions?
I have one question, I guess
Sure.
comment,
Yeah.
and it was that, and it surprised me a few years ago, is that you don't have to get hit in the head to get a concussion. My daughter was in a play,
Yeah.
and one of the kids kept getting sick, and they couldn't figure out why.
Yeah,
When
when
he
I
was
get
sick, he'd been doing flips,
Yeah.
and he started
Yeah.
throwing up, and they thought he had the flu. And then every day in this play, he'd go and do a flip in the play, and he'd re-injure himself.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It wasn't too long ago that we had somebody come in the office who was in a car accident and had a whiplash type injury. Didn't hit anything in the car. But what a concussion is a bruise to the brain. And you can get that from a rapid motion forward and backward, or we call that a coup contra coup injury, where your brain gets knocked forward, knocked back, and both the front and the back of the brain actually has bruising. And then you also have shearing forces in there, which actually can tear some of the nerves. So concussions are additive. You know, if you get a concussion, you are more at risk for other concussions. A lot like ankle sprains actually as well. But the most important thing, you know, have fun, and you guys have most of them been doing it for years, and I just want to thank you personally from our family, because you know, Hazel really has made a big difference in our family's life, and certainly in our son, and our daughter's going to be playing, younger daughter's doing T-ball this year, so we feel really appreciative to you guys for doing this. So.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.